I just wrote a Substack that I need to share with you all because it is written so perfectly that it needs to be heard. Written by Technofog, you can find it here. I urge you to read it as there are links and screenshots to more information that is summarized in this video. The title of the Substack is Big Brother's Playbook, DHS Efforts to Curb Dangerous Speech. The federal government's guidelines to counter misinformation and disinformation, what we may more accurately describe as Big Brother's Playbook, has been released. The U.S. government and its allies, including media gatekeepers, educational institutions, and global corporations, have become the judges and juries of misinformation, and big tech is their executioner. According to recently filed court documents in Missouri v. Biden that were made available by The Intercept, the Department of Homeland Security is quietly broadening its efforts to curb speech it considers dangerous. I will highlight the key points of these court documents that are especially relevant to the 2022 and 2024 elections. Here's what it says. DHS is directly engaging with social media companies to flag MDM. MDM is defined as misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation. It is doing so ahead of midterm elections in 2022, and it's readying its efforts with eyes focused on 2024. DHS is questioning how to inspire innovators to partner with the government without this being seen as government propaganda. The rapid response team would need to surge for short periods of time around elections. It recognizes the system's vulnerabilities to what it considers disinformation. The spread of false and misleading information poses a significant risk to critical functions like elections, public health, financial services, and emergency response. The DHS focus on disinformation isn't limited to elections. It is recommended to focus on misinformation that undermines critical functions carried out by the other key democratic institutions, such as the courts, or by the other sectors such as the financial system or public health measures. DHS has recognized 4 specific dimensions of disinformation to counter. It is recommended to 1, build a society resilient to misinformation/disinformation, 2, proactively address anticipated misinformation, disinformation threats, 3, rapidly responding to emergency or persistent informational threats, and 4, countering actor-based threats. The DHS plan would provide financial support to non-governmental partners who counter false and misleading narratives. In other words, the U.S. government contractors who would receive funding to suffocate anti-government narratives. Then there are the emails. No surprise that Facebook and DHS were actively monitoring election misinformation. Then there was the disclosure of emails between the tech platforms and the Biden administration discussing the flagging or removal of content that questioned these things. I hope the dangers of these programs and initiatives are apparent. It would be the federal government and its partners who would define misinformation. These aren't neutral observers, rather their power relies on a narrative. Perceived legitimacy is a risk. In other words, it's the belief that the threat, not the misinformation by itself. Thus, the real targets are those who listen and read and watch. Beliefs are shaped by limiting what they can see. Better to keep those dangerous ideas out of public view. After hearing this, it raises the questions, are social media companies an arm of the government? If they operate this way, should they be governed as such and not as private companies protected by Section 230? If so, are they following constitutional rights? If propaganda is meant to shape how the public feels, who's guilty of spreading propaganda? Has this made you rethink everything you've been taught to feel? Has the government overstepped their power? And who will hold them accountable? It's time to wake up to reality, everyone. Thanks for listening.